What would you do if a birthday gift from your own son, a brand new $800 Apple Watch Ultra, was actually a poison-filled Trojan horse? It wasn't just tracking my heart rate or my steps. It was the master key to my lake house, my life savings, and my God-given freedom. My own son was using it to turn me into a mental patient on paper, right under my nose. The mastermind behind this nightmare? The same boy I once carried in my arms, my own flesh and blood. The person I trusted more than anyone on this earth. But here's the thing he didn't count on. My grandson is a software engineer at Amazon. He found the horrifying truth hidden beneath that shiny titanium shell. And suddenly, I was forced into the most dangerous performance of my life. I had to play the confused, senile old man just to lure my own son into a trap. Can I keep the act together? Or will my own blood lock me away in a nursing home forever? Don't scroll away. This isn't just a story about a scam. This is your final warning. This could be the only thing that saves you or your parents from a trap you can't crawl out of. Turned 72 on a cold Saturday in late October. Seattle was shedding its last golden leaves, and a bitter wind was whipping off the lake. I woke up alone in that house, just like every morning for the last 5 years, ever since cancer took my Alice. The old coffee maker rattled to life at 7 a.m. sharp. I shuffled into the kitchen, wrapped in my frayed Seattle Seahawks sweater. Alice used to tease me, saying it made me look like a retired history professor. Well, she wasn't wrong. I spent 32 years at U before I finally traded the chalkboard for a fishing rod. Glanced at my phone. Silence, except for a text from my grandson Ethan. Happy birthday, Grandpa. Trapped at work today, but I promise we'll celebrate soon. Love you. I smiled, but the quiet felt heavy. At this age, birthdays are just mile markers for your health and your mind. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have even dreamed, was that while I was enjoying the silence, my eldest son, James, was living a financial horror story down in Portland. He's 45, a real estate broker, and he was about to lose everything. He was sitting in his car, face gray, staring at a final notice from the bank. Then he heard a rumor. A new highway expansion was going right through my lakefront property. Suddenly, his video calls became constant. He was always just checking in, always slipping in questions about what I planned to do with the land. The truth is even uglier. James took his desperation and shook hands with the devil, his girlfriend, Linda Hayes. She's a real estate lawyer drowning in debt from a nasty divorce. Linda, who was already on probation for ethics violations, was the one who drew up the plan to use technology to leash me. They pre-configured an Apple Watch with an illegal remote management profile. They just waited for my birthday to spring it on me as a health gift. Around noon, the doorbell rang. There was James standing on the porch with a gold-ribboned gift bag and a smile that I now realize was completely fake. Happy birthday, Dad. I wanted to get you something truly special and high-tech this year. He handed me the bag. Inside was the Ultra. The plastic seal was still on it. James, this is too much. This must have cost a fortune. You're worth it, Dad, he said, kissing my cheek. His voice was smooth, too smooth. Mom always said you needed better tech to track your health and FaceTime me. I held the box. My fingers slid over the plastic, cold and slick. It felt heavier than it should. I looked up at James. He was smiling, but his eyes were dead. There was a tightness at the corners of his mouth, like the smile was just a mask he'd thrown on at the last second. Suddenly, I was hit by a memory from 30 years ago. James was 10, running across the grass with a hand-drawn card. To Dad, because you're the best father in the whole world. Everything was so full of hope back then, but the illusion shattered. I snapped back to the present, realizing my palms were dripping with cold sweat. Thank you, sweetheart, I said. This means more to me than you know. James stayed for lunch. While we were cleaning up, he put a hand on my shoulder. His voice dropped, sounding heavy with concern. Dad, Linda mentioned you've been forgetting to close the fridge lately. Maybe after your birthday, I should take you to this great hospital I know in Portland for a checkup. Just getting old, son. It's normal, I said, forcing a laugh. Patted my shoulder, checked his watch, and rushed out the door. That same afternoon, I drove straight to Ethan's office in downtown Seattle. I needed my grandson, a senior software engineer at Amazon, to show me how to use this thing. Let me take a look, Grandpa. Ethan grabbed the watch, his fingers flying across the screen so fast I couldn't keep up. Then he froze. His face went bone white, like he'd just seen a ghost. Grandpa ... double quotes, Ethan whispered, his voice trembling. This box wasn't factory sealed. Look right here. These tiny scratches, the glue doesn't line up. Someone's been in here. He picked up the watch and started scrolling through the menus. And they temporarily paired it with an iPhone configured with an enterprise MDM. When you paired it with your phone, that surveillance profile stayed active. It's automatically syncing every bit of your data directly to Uncle James's iCloud account. Ethan looked up at me, and for the first time in my life, I saw pure fear in my grandson's eyes. This isn't a gift, Grandpa. This is a pre-installed spy device. I couldn't believe my ears. How is a father's heart supposed to process that? Ethan set the watch down on the desk, cautiously, like it was a live bomb. It's an unauthorized MDM profile, an enterprise management tool being weaponized. I can confirm the location tracking, the mic, and the camera on this watch are all on and linked straight to Uncle James. The room started spinning. That's impossible. James is my son. I know what I'm looking at, Ethan said, his face hardening. Someone intentionally turned your birthday gift into a tracking device. We need hard evidence. He took a deep breath and turned his laptop screen toward me. I just managed to access Uncle James's calendar notes. This coming Monday morning, they have an appointment booked with a guardianship lawyer and a psychiatrist. They're planning to have you declared senile late-stage dementia to seize control of all your assets. Ethan's voice dropped, dead. Serious, we don't have much time, Grandpa. We have less than 48 hours before they turn you into a mental patient on paper. The next morning, instead of going to the cops, I met Ethan at his apartment in downtown Seattle. He had extracted the device's entire activity log. He was explaining technical jargon I could barely wrap my head around. I installed a log app that records every time the mic or camera activates. This MDM profile lets them see every site you visit, every password you type. If you'd logged into any bank accounts on the connected phone, he'd have everything. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding, thanking God for my old school ways and for not touching any banking apps yet. What does this mean? What do I do? I asked, my voice shaking. Ethan leaned back, looking like a protector. First, we follow the money. James is drowning in debt down in Portland. I checked his public credit records. He needs a massive infusion of cash to save his house from foreclosure. I went silent, thinking. This lakefront property is easily worth $2.2 million in today's market. Alice and I spent our lives saving for it. Plus, there were my investments and a $600,000 life insurance policy Alice left behind. The beneficiaries were supposed to be James and his brother David. I have assets, but I'm no millionaire, I said softly. Ethan nodded, like he already knew. Grandpa, in the tech and finance world, when a relative puts a tracking device on an elderly person, it's never out of concern. It's a calculated hostile takeover. Elderly. That word stung. Is that how they see me? An asset to be managed and harvested. James and Linda Hayes are building a file to prove you're incompetent, Ethan continued. He wants guardianship so he can sign away the land and the money himself. I was speechless. James, my firstborn, was hunting his own father like prey. I drove home in a daze. The watch was still on my wrist, Ethan's orders to keep up appearances. Don't let him get suspicious, Ethan warned. I pulled into the driveway and just sat there in the cabin for a long time, staring at the house Alice and I bought 40 years ago. Alice had planted those rose bushes by the front door herself, the year James was born. That little boy who used to draw me cards. Now he was listening to my heartbeat, just waiting for me to fall to confirm the depth of this betrayal. I set the trap Ethan suggested early the following week. I intentionally left a fake sticky note on my desk. Meeting attorney Mark on November 5th on 3. Trust fund. And check Wells Fargo balance. $47,000. At the same time, I looked directly toward the wall and muttered something completely random. Don't forget to buy milk for the cat. 3 days later, James called. He happened to ask if I needed a recommendation for a good lawyer, but he didn't say a single word about cat milk. That was it. 100% certainty. They weren't just listening. They were watching me through the camera. The call from Ethan came on a foggy Tuesday morning. "Grandpa, are you sitting down?" I slowly lowered myself into the wooden kitchen chair. "I'm here, Ethan. Talk to me." I dug deeper. Linda Hayes has been secretly contacting a psychiatrist named Mitchell Carter. They're already drafting a competency evaluation report on you. But Grandpa, that's not even the worst part. Ethan paused, his voice cracking with pure rage. "Did you ever change the beneficiary on Grandma's $600,000 life insurance policy?" "Never." According to the digital records I accessed through James's iCloud, the beneficiary was changed 7 months ago. David was kicked off entirely. James is now the sole beneficiary for the full amount. The digital signature looks exactly like yours, but I know it's a forgery. The kitchen started to spin. James had forged my signature to swallow his own mother's legacy. They're preparing a guardianship petition for King County Court, Ethan continued. Their argument is that you're suffering from severe cognitive decline and frequent, uncontrolled outbursts. Incompetent. That word hit me like a physical blow to the gut. For a man who spent his life sharpening his mind, it was the ultimate insult. "On what grounds?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "That's why the cat milk trap and the fake notes worked," Ethan explained. "They aren't just eavesdropping. They're building a medical profile based on evidence they've manufactured. We finally have the smoking gun proof of organized fraud." The pain inside me began to freeze over, hardening into a cold iron. Resolve. I looked down at the watch, the weapon my son had strapped to my wrist, then looked up as if Ethan were standing right there. "If they want to play about a senile old man, I'll give them the performance of a lifetime," I said, my voice eerily calm. "I'm going to keep wearing this watch. I'll let them think their little surveillance op is running perfectly. I'm going to feed them exactly the kind of financial secrets they want to see. Let's see how far their greed will pull them into the light." Ethan went silent. I could tell his worry was shifting into a mix of shock and respect. "You're really going to play along with your own son?" "I'm not playing a game to trick him, Ethan. I'm holding up a mirror so he has to look at the monster staring back," I replied, my eyes fixed like a general surveying a battlefield. "Before James and Linda can strip away what's left of my life, we're going to make them sign their own arrest warrants." I took a deep breath. I wasn't just some old man being hunted anymore. I was going to show them how a history professor finishes a chapter. That night I sat alone in the living room with the Apple Watch on my wrist. Ethan had already compromised the device with a reverse surveillance system, a trap within a trap. I took a breath and began to monologue. I wasn't talking to the empty room. I was talking to the vultures hiding behind the lens and the mic. "This house is just getting too big lately," I said, loud enough for the mic to catch. "I don't think I can keep up with it alone. Maybe it's time to move to a small condo downtown. Get things in order before it's too late." The lies Tasted like ash in my mouth, but I kept going. I'm forgetting so much lately. I probably need the kids to step in. I can't manage the money by myself anymore. It was disgusting. The truth was my memory was as sharp as the day I stood at a podium, and my health was perfect for 72, but I was building a character, a confused, manipulatable old man in need of a guardian. While I was playing my part, in a dark corner of Seattle, Linda Hayes met Dr. Mitchell Carter at a deserted coffee shop. Carter was desperate. His wife's medical bills were draining him dry, pushing him to the brink. Linda slid an envelope containing $5,000 across the table, along with a file detailing my fake symptoms. Just your signature, doctor. This file becomes a legal reality so we can protect the family assets, Linda said, her voice smooth and predatory. Carter looked at the cash, his hands shaking with guilt, but he nodded. A desperate man trying to save his wife. I was giving James and Linda exactly what they craved. The reaction came faster than I expected. James called me the very next morning, his voice fake cheerful. "Hey, Dad. You were just on my mind. How are you feeling, Pop?" "Oh, you know, son. I'm getting old." I let my voice tremble just a bit. "Days are getting a bit blurry. I worry about being in this big house alone. Maybe I need to think about what you suggested. About finding a new place." We had never actually discussed moving, but I threw the bait out to see how fast he'd bite. "I'm so glad to hear that, Dad." The relief and excitement in his voice were impossible to hide. "I'll swing by this weekend, help you organize your financial papers, and we can plan for the future." "Sure thing, son." After I hung up, I sat in total silence. Right then, a text popped up from Ethan, a log chart showing the watch's mic had been live the entire duration of that call. Technology, cold and clinical, exposing the lie. I sent a short text back to Ethan. "The bait is taken." James showed up Saturday with a thick folder and his trademark standard issue smile. He spread papers all over the kitchen table while I fumbled with the tea, playing the part of the frail father in need of guidance. "I've done the research," he said. "There are some incredible high-end assisted living facilities in the suburbs. They'll take care of you from A to Z." I looked over the brochure's specialized memory care units, places where the elderly are isolated until they're no longer a burden. "And I also talked to a lawyer friend," he continued, "about setting up a power of attorney, just as a precaution, so I can help manage your assets if you ever, if you aren't feeling up to it." "Power of attorney?" I repeated slowly, acting like it was some foreign concept. "Just a formality, Dad," he said, sliding a document toward me. "You're still in control. I'm just there to back you up when needed." This was the baby I held in my arms when he was born. And now this man wanted to erase my life with a single signature. "I don't know, James. This is a big deal." He suddenly dropped his voice, sounding so choked up it was almost believable. "Dad, I had a dream about Mom. She told me I had to take care of you. I know I've failed over the years, but I truly want to make it right." In that moment, my heart squeezed. I looked at the old family photo on the wall and almost whispered, "Forget it. Is my son. But then, the numbness from the watch on my wrist reminded me of the truth. He was using his own mother's soul as bait. "Just think about it. We'll talk next week." After he left, I snapped photos of every single page he left behind and sent them to Ethan. Then, I went down to the basement and did something I should have done a long time ago. I started digging through the old boxes. I found what I needed. In the back corner of the bottom drawer, a dust-covered tackle box, something James thought I'd never touch again after Mom passed. Inside, instead of fishing lures, was a hurriedly stuffed folder. My blood ran cold. These were fake medical evaluations detailing my severe cognitive decline, with the boxes already pre-checked in pencil. I also saw the name Dr. Mitchell Carter, the man Ethan warned me about, The one who took $5,000 from Linda Hayes to sign off on this report. And at the very bottom of the pile was a handwritten note in James's familiar blue ink. Work timeline. Phase 1. Establish history of confusion, October deck. Phase 2. Secure POA signature. Phase 3. File for guardianship, remove David from $600,000 insurance. Phase 4. Take over accounts, sell lakefront land, spring. The last line made my skin crawl. L says we need to move faster. The old man's health is still too good. The window is closing. L. L for Linda. My son was complaining that I wasn't weak enough for them to strike yet. I stood silent in the dark basement. Memories pulled me back 25 years to when James leaned on my shoulder. Thanks, Dad. Now that shoulder was a hand holding a knife behind my back. I gripped the folder, my clouded eyes suddenly flashing with a cold, sharp clarity. I don't know what I'd do without you, Dad. I promise you'll never have to find out. That memory shattered. I gathered everything, photographed every page, and called Ethan. I found their playbook. Everything, from the timeline to the most ruthless evidence. The next 2 weeks were the longest of my life. Ethan coordinated with a friend in law enforcement, gathering more digital evidence, monitoring James's communication through the security holes they'd created themselves, building an airtight case for court. I kept up my act, the senile old man, a vulnerable target in need of help. James visited twice more. Each time, he pushed harder, brought more documents, asked more questions about my finances, my health, and the future of my lakefront land. You look tired lately, Dad, he said during the second visit. Seems like you're forgetting things more than usual. In reality, I had never been sharper, but I gave a sad, slow nod. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's time for someone else to carry the load for me. His eyes lit up. I already talked to the lawyer. We can set everything up. Let me take this burden off your shoulders. When? I think we can go together next week. Sign everything, make it official. All right, I said. Let's do it. He hugged me as he left, a hug that lasted just a bit. Too long. This is for the best, Dad, you'll see. I watched him drive away and felt nothing but a bone-deep chill. That night, I got an audio clip from Ethan. He'd intercepted a conversation between James and Linda, thanks to the reverse surveillance system. The tape was a bit grainy, but the content was crystal clear. The old man's signing next week, James's voice rang out. Power of attorney, everything's good. Linda's voice was smooth, professional. Once you have that POA, we move to the next phase. File for guardianship, competency evaluation. By spring, you'll have full control. And then we liquidate it all. That land alone is worth nearly $2.2 million, plus another $600,000 in stocks and insurance. There was a pause, then James's voice dropped. He's my father, Linda, but he's an old man sitting on a pile of cash he's never going to use. Think it through, James, Linda scoffed. Your debt's wiped clean. Your real estate firm saved a fresh start. All you have to do is sign a few papers. What if he finds out? Linda let out a cold laugh. He won't. He's old. He can't even figure out how to use an Apple Watch properly. By the time he realizes what's happening, it'll be too late. In the middle of that recording, one detail flashed like lightning in the dark. It clicked perfectly with a physical memory in my house. Linda said, "You kept those fake medical files and the timeline hidden in that old tackle box in the basement, right?" "Don't lose them," James replied. "Don't worry. My dad never touches that spot." The recording ended. I sat in my dark living room, listening to my own son plot to steal my life. Debts wiped clean. A fresh start. I had no idea James was in a total financial freefall. His firm in downtown Portland was facing bankruptcy after 3 failed deals in a row. He never told me. Would I have helped if he'd just asked? Absolutely. I'm his father. But he didn't choose to ask. He decided that stealing would be easier. Ethan called me the following Monday. We're ready. The meeting with the lawyer? Everything is set. I drove to the law office on Wednesday morning, my hand steady on the wheel. James was already waiting in the parking lot, beaming. Ready to get this all settled, Dad? As ready as I'll ever be. We walked in together. The office was on the third floor of a building in downtown Seattle. James had handpicked this place. A secretary led us into a conference room, 2 men in. Suits were waiting. The first introduced himself as Stephen Grant, Linda Hayes' partner. The second, with tired eyes and slightly shaking hands, was Mitchell Carter, the psychiatrist Ethan warned me about. He wouldn't look me in the eye. He just stared down at the paperwork like the words could hide his rotting conscience. He was the man about to sign my life away. Mr. Robert, he said, sounding way too enthusiastic. So good to finally meet you. Shall we get started? He spread the papers across the table. Power of attorney, bank access forms, healthcare directives. Everything a predator needs to erase a person. You just need to sign here, Mitchell said, pointing to the line on the first page. And initial right here. I picked up the pen. I looked at the stack of papers, then at the hungry, expectant face of my son. Before I sign anything, I said softly, I want to understand exactly what I'm agreeing to. James's smile twitched. It's just standard procedure, Dad. We already talked about this, remember? I laid the pen down, did we? Because I don't remember discussing you coordinating with Dr. Mitchell Carter here to manufacture a fake report, to declare me incompetent. I don't remember agreeing to let you forge my signature to hijack your mother's life, insurance, and kick your brother David off the policy. And James, I definitely don't remember giving you permission to work with Linda Hayes to pull this off. The color drained from James's face until he looked like a corpse. Dad, I don't know what you're talking about. The conference room doors swung open. Seattle PD walked in. James Robert, a detective said. You're under arrest for fraud, forgery, and conspiracy to commit elder abuse. You have the right to remain silent. James scrambled up so fast his chair flipped backward. He started screaming, This is crazy, Dad. Tell them this is a mistake. I didn't answer him right away. Instead, I slowly pulled Alice's old mechanical pocket watch from my sweater. I set it on the table and began to turn the crown. Click, click, click. The sharp, steady rhythm of the mechanical gears cut through the dead silence of the room, like the pulse of truth shattering their high-tech lies. I looked him dead in the eye. There's no mistake, James. Your Apple Watch might be able to eavesdrop, but it can't understand a father's resolve. I watched the panic take over his eyes. There is no mistake here, I said. I heard everything, James. The calls with Linda. Your plans for the land, my savings, your mother's insurance. I even found your little timeline in the tackle box. I know everything. I turned to Mitchell Carter, who looked like he'd seen a ghost. And you, Dr. Carter. I know about the $5,000 Linda handed you to sign that fake competency report. I know you're desperate to pay for your wife's treatment. But that doesn't justify selling your professional soul. It wasn't. She forced me ... Go quotes. James started to sob. Dad, please, I'm in deep. I owe so much money to the wrong people. Linda said this was the only way. I never wanted to hurt you. The officer grabbed his arm. James struggled for a second, then went limp. Dad, he called out again, his voice cracking into pieces. Please, I'm your son. I thought about the little boy in the backyard. I thought about the teenager I helped with homework, and the man who stood beside me at Alice's funeral. My son would have asked for help, I said. My son would have trusted me. You decided I was worth more as a victim than a father. Let the law teach you the lesson I clearly failed to teach you. They led him away. I sat in that conference room alone with the unsigned papers and the fading echoes of my son's cries. Linda Hayes was picked up that afternoon at her luxury condo in Portland. She'd already packed her bags, ready to vanish. The moment the power of attorney was finalized, the investigation dragged on for months. By winter, the full scale of the rot was exposed. Linda Hayes had been hunting wealthy seniors for years, using her professional lawyer persona to find accomplices in financial trouble. James wasn't her first partner. He was just her latest prey. Credit records showed James owed Linda and other creditors over $230,000. The fallout from failed Portland real estate deals and a champagne lifestyle on a beer budget. Linda had paid off his most urgent debts, then demanded repayment in the only currency she cared about: access to the family estate, my land, my life, my freedom. The trial happened the following April. I didn't go. I couldn't sit in that courtroom and watch my son be judged, even if he deserved every second of it. James got 6 years for fraud, conspiracy, and elder abuse. Dr. Mitchell Carter had his license revoked forever and got 3 years for his part in the forgery. During the sentencing, his wife sobbed in the gallery, but the judge was merciless. Linda Hayes got the hammer. Maximum sentence as the mastermind. 3 months after the trial, I got a letter from prison. It was James's handwriting. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He just wrote, "You won. You always win, don't you? I just wish that once in your life, you looked at me the way you look at your history books, with a little understanding instead of cold judgment." I put the letter down. My hands weren't shaking, but my heart felt like lead. I remembered what David said during a short call afterward. "Dad, James paid the price. But so did the rest of us. I don't know if this win of yours brought anyone peace." The living room was silent, save for the ticking of Alice's mechanical clock. I looked at the dark screen of the Apple Watch sitting in my junk drawer. It could track every beat of my heart, but it couldn't tell me this. Was putting my son in prison the act of a righteous father, or just the final move of a history professor who refuses to accept a mistake? Justice was served, but tonight, this house by the lake is hauntingly quiet. I updated my beneficiaries to David and the grandkids. Changed every password, every bank account. Ethan helped me set up a real security system, cameras at the door, and instant financial alerts. That summer, the lake house porch was finally full of laughter again when David's family flew in from Denver. Ethan was there too, wearing my old Seahawks sweater, freshly washed, a relic from the days I used to go to games with Alice. It was a 73rd birthday like no other. No luxury gift boxes. No high-tech gadgets wrapped in calculated lies. Instead, we all made dinner together. David was at the grill with the ribs I like, and the grandkids were busy drawing colorful cards right on the dining table, reminding me of the old days, back when James was just as sincere. Sitting on the porch watching the sunset, David looked out at the water and asked softly, "Do you miss him?" I thought about it for a long time, my hand tightening around Alice's pocket watch. "I miss the son I raised," I said. "Not the man who tried to steal my freedom through an Apple Watch. That man? I don't know him at all." 3 generations of U.S. sat there, wrapped in the kind of raw, honest love you can't buy. I pulled out Alice's old mechanical watch and slowly turned the crown. That steady, metallic tick-tick-tick didn't feel like a weapon anymore. It sounded like a legacy, a heartbeat of clarity standing firm against the sunset. No flashy boxes. This year, no high-tech gadgets wrapped in lies. Just the greatest treasure I own, trust. The house is quieter now. For a while, I thought about selling it, just to run away from the ghosts. But Alice's roses still bloom every spring. If you've stayed with me this far, I need you to hear this. I'm sharing my shame because this could happen to anyone. Elder financial abuse is an epidemic. Often, the people we trust the most are the ones who can cut us the deepest. Here are the red flags I wish I'd seen sooner. First, be wary of surprise gifts that feel a little too generous. If someone hands you an expensive device that's already been unboxed or set up for you, have a pro like Ethan check for MDM profiles or management settings. Second, watch out for relatives who suddenly become obsessed with your bank accounts, especially if they're struggling with their own. Third, pay attention if someone starts questioning your memory or your sharpness out of nowhere. They're writing the script for your senility. Remember my cat milk trap. The truth is always hidden in the smallest details. Fourth, never, and I mean never, sign something you don't 100% understand. A power of attorney is a nuclear weapon in the wrong hands. Don't just hand over the launch codes. In fifth, trust your gut. If something feels off, it usually is. Finally, know that it is never too late to ask for help. Isolation is a predator's favorite weapon. Connection is your best shield. James made his choice. I made mine. Some nights I still dream about that little boy in the backyard, the one who drew me birthday cards with messy crayons. I wake up reaching for a past that doesn't exist anymore, but I'm still here. I'm standing tall. And I am free. Protect yourself. Protect the people you love. And always remember, sometimes the biggest threat comes inside a birthday gift from the person who calls you dad. If this story hit home or made you worry about your own family, hit that subscribe button. Your support helps these warnings reach the people who need them most. Before I go, I want to hear from you on a very difficult line. Do you stand with justice because a blood betrayal is unforgivable? Or do you feel heartbroken, thinking that sending my own son to prison was too cruel for a father to do? Drop your thoughts in the comments. In the war between logic and blood, there are no easy answers. Stay safe, and thank you for listening to my story.